Okay, hi everyone. So this is in continuation to the discussion around the data servers, and particularly for the data servers to work, the essential understanding of how it is understood till now by most of the folks is there is a requirement of electricity at the same point of time. A lot of water bodies, a lot of water is needed. Water in many languages is called wasa, and it is needed to just cool down the servers, and that is one of the problem statements which US is facing right now because of the data servers, or they claim that most of the data servers of the internet, which belongs to these so-called giant companies, they are in the jurisdiction of the United States of America. However, from time to time over the years, particularly in last, I wouldn't say 1 decade, I would rather take the data set of last 2 decades, where a lot has happened in terms of a lot of backlash in terms of the understanding of where the data is going and how the data is being utilized. Another news which is, I mean, very far-fetched, but we're just talking about the generation of AI content itself, but nobody is talking about when the input data with the human intervention is wrong data set. That is where the problem statement is, because when the human intervention is there at the very first stage, and I'm talking about in terms of HACCP. HACCP is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. It is a very well-known term in the hospitality industry, particularly the hotel industry and the food industry, not from a layman's point of view, but the big industries which have been developed and which work on the quality consciousness of whatever they are doing in the capacity of whether it's manufacturing or whether the whole supply chain. So HACCP, which is HACCP, that is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. So wherever the critical control points are identified, the way it should work is human intervention should be involved. And the very first database or the very first data, now folks don't even understand what a prompt is. And I don't want to get into the data set of others, or perhaps understanding what a prompt is and how a prompt should be formed, because the basic understanding of English, the language itself is very little to most of the folks, even all these applications where whatever is written on these tabs and everything, the understanding of the language is still minuscule as compared to what the language offers in terms of conveying the message to the other party through any of the interfaces, or you're talking about the offline world. Now, here we are trying to understand what this term, which is thin client, what is thin client in terms of the understanding what thin client is all about. I mean, I have been like, I've lived this tagging life for more than 2 decades in full capacity, or rather I would say in more than full capacity, because working with different innovations, inventions, that's all I have been doing. And yesterday, because I was observing, because with the passage of time, as whatever we are, we gain some momentum in terms of the understanding of tags itself. And now what I feel is my observation skills have increased, and it's still increasing, because there is no threshold, or there is no I don't like to take any test. There are a lot of tests in the world which is based on whatever formulation they have. I don't like to be a test candidate for anyone, but perhaps because you're using internet, we like it or not, we all are candidates for something or the other, for perhaps just being logged in onto this portal. So let's try and understand the understanding of a thin client, and in terms of let's talk about okay, value added services, which is VAS providers. So generally what happens is, I'm just going to pen this down so anybody who is having some viewpoint at later, whenever they're able to log into this stuff, they're able to look into it. So generally under the NICE classification we have 45 clauses, and 1 to 34 is supposed to be for goods, and 35 to 45 is supposed to be for services. So right now we are going to understand a thin client, and we're going to understand VAS, which is value added services. Okay. Now most of the devices, it is, or I would rather say let's call it handheld device. Most of the handheld devices, they have this face recognition pattern, and then they have the biometric part. So we have both the face recognition, the biometric part. So biometric identity check, that is under G06Q20/40145. Then there is shopping of digital content. This is something which has been promoted by most of the applications right now, but it is going nowhere because at the end or the other end, the consumer is doesn't have the basic necessities in terms of what the other providers are trying to serve, because something is called as market cap and something is called the reality check as to whether you have customers for that particular service or not. And that, because it's not kind of an essential commodity. Even say for example, before I just get back to this shopping of digital content, which is G06Q20/123. So the essential would be toothpaste, toothbrush, but how many toothbrushes are you going to buy in a year? Okay, toothpaste on a average household, how many toothpaste is being purchased, and how many have that kind of hygiene at a very high level. So those are the pressing questions which needs to be answered right now. And then we have this G06Q20/40 authorization, identification of payer or payee, verification of customer or credentials, review and approval of payers, which is basically talks about checking the credit lines and the negative list. For the longest time, when we talk about the negative list, this is something, this discipline has been there and not being there at the same point of time, because many people think this credit card is like a pass to just make purchases without even realizing what they're getting into, purchasing stuff they really don't even know, and don't even know how to use those handheld devices. So I'm not getting into the moral aspect of what purchase is all about. We'll just focus on the this aspect. Then there's something called as PPN. PPN communication is basically payment processing network. How the payment is processed over the network. Now for this itself, there are different protocols, and different protocols are being rewritten, because even with the OTPs and the others, the ciphering off is happening in the cyber world. So how this can be regulated, that's the question one needs to ask and answer. And this can be in this regard, in India we have Airtel, and Airtel is looking into this aspect in terms of, like, I think the best thing is they have put everything under spam. I think that's the best. There are many a times all these I would say the delivery boys are calling you, and they want to have the OTPs and all, but their number is also in spam, and that's a good thing, because then these people have to take the effort to unblock their numbers from the spam, because although these business models are providing employment, so I'm talking about the delivery aspect of these courier services in India, although it is providing employment, it does not have any check on the human capacity building. I mean, even with the prepaid order, they see the senior citizens and they ask for money, and the senior citizens, as it is, they're clueless. Most of the senior citizens, even with the educated background, they're clueless about everything, because they never understood technology, perhaps, particularly internet. Just they know how to maybe browse these websites to order, or they would be logged on to a social network, connect with their previous peers, and have those conversations. But the real understanding of internet, I would rather say, there's the leverage is with folks who were, I this is my own data set because I do a lot of primary market research, and that is with folks born from the year 1980. Perhaps if I have to give the biggest range of years, it would be 1980 to 1995. This 15 years, I think they have at least a little bit more understanding than others in terms of how they have seen the technology change so fast. I'll give you one example from my own time. We had these pagers, and pagers was like, the lifespan of pagers was very, very less. And it was so less that during the Diwali season, you purchase these, whatever these, what do you call it, refrigerators or washing machines and all that stuff. Although if you see in most of the clothes, if you read the label, it is just said that, you know, normal washing with gentle or whatever the stuff is, you can get your things done. So you don't even need to use a washing machine if you are not a sedentary. If you are a sedentary worker, there are very less chances you need to use a washing machine. A washing machine and all these things, they have lost their value. And particularly, you know, when you're using these or whatever chemicals you're using for the wash purpose, that also is aggregating into the pool of adding on to the pollution until unless you're reusing it in the form of ETP. ETP stands for effluent treatment plant. So coming back to this aspect of ppn, that is, it's not parts per million. Parts per million is ppm. This is payment processing network. So we will just deep dive into this. Okay, this is done. Okay. It's a simple way of writing the same thing again and again. The only thing is the security function which is being utilized in this particular case is universal identification and user biometric data, that is fingerprints, that is already there on the devices right now. Then there is, okay. Okay, look into ISO 8583. Okay, so we will talk a little bit more about the identification information parameters, and I think most of the folks know about it, but still just for info, we can always add more data parameters into this as far as the wallet is concerned. So this is the wallet which we are, this is not the framework, but one can say that this wallet kind of a concept in terms of fiat currency, and when we talk about stable coins, which still, I mean, a lot has to be done. But on the other end of the spectrum, we can definitely look into it. So we have CVV, that is card verification value. Then we have dCVV, that is dynamic card verification value with a date which states that that particular card is applicable for those many years and that month of that year. And I think in India, HDFC, so I think there is issuance of new cards right now. I have to get into that data set. I haven't reviewed it yet. And they are taking the Indigo card that was 6E card, and they're issuing something else right now. So probably I think I'm expecting that in next couple of, so we're in the month of October, so I'm expecting it in the month of November right now. So this is done. Okay. So it's an interesting way just to write what biometric data is all about. In this particular case, they're talking about biometric data, which is facial recognition data, which is basically the facial points on the face of each individual. It's different. So it just recognizes that because there are pointers on the bones, though it's not visible to the naked eye, but through the electronic way of configuration, one can easily look into that. So we have that. Then we have DNA data, that is deoxyribonucleic acid, palm bright data, hand geometry data, that is basically when we draw whatever we draw, people draw W's and whatnot, and the iris recognition data, that is, iris is basically the eye recognition data. And then we have business correspondent, which is called BC. So BC to us means a lot of things. C stands for, of course, C is 100 always. B could be so many things. Not blockchain. I'm not getting into blockchain today. Okay. So we have this business correspondent or BC. Then what else? I just want to complete this now. So there's a VIP system, which is Visa Integrated Payment System. Okay, so I'm getting into something which is quite sometimes I'm going through data sets which are like when I was in school, so or perhaps I have seen applications of 1800, 1700, yeah, something I had seen, but it's been a while. I didn't go back to that timeline, but yes, a lot of stuff has been done in Europe as far as the IP is concerned, and those applications somewhere of 1800 or 1900s early, it was very different, and the way it is written and everything is it's very different to the normal understanding. Okay. Look into this H04N1/195. Okay, I do not wish to give a synopsis of what we discussed right now. So this is basically a work in progress. Whatever we discuss, I will code it my way. I have some smart contracts in my head. I just want to push it and see how it works as far the events are concerned, and then we'll come back and talk about it again. The intent right now is to collate some form of it for publication, not only as a chapter. So I already submitted one chapter for publication. I'm now trying to compile it in a book format, and particularly I'm just trying to figure out the readers for the same, so that I do the compilation that way, and then let's see how it works. And then obviously this is going to be a continuous work because technology is always work in progress. So that's how it is. Thank you for watching this out, and have a great day ahead.